Something I wish I did more of, especially at the start of my fitness journey and also my business journey, is documenting more of the journey, in particular the struggles and the unknowns, because I think it's very easy to look up to someone and think they kind of just always had it figured out and always knew what they were doing and were always making progress and successful, and it's not the case at all. So I wanted to make this video to start documenting and open up about my diagnosis with ADHD and autism. Hello, welcome back to my channel. My name is Jodie and I help you change your beliefs so you can change your body, your health, and your life. There's not going to be fitness content in this video, but mental health is super important as well, and I think it's very easy to kind of dismiss a lot of mental health challenges. I know I do, and it's also kind of scary to talk about them because there's still this stigma around it. And so I don't want to further contribute to that by kind of hiding this about myself or not talking more about it. I want to encourage more conversation, and so that is why I am going to share more about all of this and hopefully help anyone else out there who maybe has similar struggles not feel so alone. If you don't watch anything else, there's 3 things that I really want you to take away from this video. The first being, you don't know what you don't know, one of my favorite statements. And I see this as really empowering, right? Because if you are struggling, if you are down in the dumps, or if you're feeling stuck in any aspect of your life, it's probably because you just don't know something. And so you need to go on that quest, stay curious, and work out what it is you don't know. And then there is answers, there are solutions, and there is a better. Next thing is, just because you can make something seem normal in your head, maybe because you are very good at masking like I am, or you just think everyone else kind of deals with it or has this problem, it doesn't mean it is normal, and it doesn't mean it has to be that way for you. I don't even really like using the word normal, but I think about this in terms of bloating, right? A lot of people suffer from bloating. Just because it's common doesn't mean it should be, but it's very easy to think, oh, everyone else suffers from bloating from time to time or when they eat, so it's normal, I don't have to worry about it. That's not the case. And it obviously applies to not just bloating, but mental health struggles as well. And the last thing is to not take your health for granted. Remember, we have to be working on not just our physical health, but our mental health every day, investing in our future health. Otherwise, things will fall apart eventually, and you want to prevent that from happening. Now I want to talk more about my diagnosis with ADHD and autism, why I got diagnosed, how the process has looked for me, and what the next steps are. So I have struggled with my mental health for my entire life, from my eating disorder days up until now. Really, I have a lot of issues with my moods and burnout and other things, which I'm realizing is a lot more significant than what I kind of thought, because I very easily gaslight myself and tell myself I shouldn't be thinking like this, get over it, just do it, that kind of thing. I don't coach like that. I'm very kind as a coach in terms of understanding, and I don't like, a lot of my clients put too much pressure on themselves. They are overachievers, they are like me and very self-critical, and so I kind of take a step back and go the opposite way with them and make sure they are nurtured and recognizing their wins and their strengths and being kind to themselves at the end of the day. They don't need more pressure, right? But when it comes to talking to myself, I can be my own worst enemy. Now, I really do believe that it is important to get on top of things before they unravel. I'm very good at doing that with my physical health, but when it comes to mental health, I journal, I've done a lot of inner work, and I do make time for it, but I don't think I was doing the right things because I didn't actually understand fully the extent to what I was dealing with because of that me just telling myself I'm fine, get over it, just be strong and move on. One of the mentors I'm currently working with actually suggested that I might have some kind of nervous system issue or ADHD like thing, and so she encouraged me to look into it and to get on top of it. And when I started looking up ADHD, I resonated with a lot of the symptoms, and what made me look into getting a formal diagnosis is the fact I saw a lot of comments on YouTube videos, like people saying they got diagnosed after having a meltdown, basically, like they had a significant life event and then everything just unraveled. They were managing things fine up until that event, and I could see how something like that could happen in my own life. And so I really wanted to be sure that I wasn't just making up things in my head. So I went and saw a professional about it. It's really funny because before I fully looked into it, I was kind of like, I can't have ADHD. I did really well in school. I am energetic and I do like to move around a lot. I don't like to sit down for long periods, but I still thought it was just basically a focus issue. Everyone has issues focusing these days. It's not a big deal. I had no idea how much of an impact it has on your mental health in terms of your mood, experiencing depression, anxiety, and burnout as well. I do have a lot of issues with my moods, but I'm very good at bringing myself out of low points, although I have low points probably far too often, considering my life is pretty blessed and I've done so much inner work and I'm so self-aware, so they almost kind of don't make any sense. But then when I've looked at the criteria for depression or bipolar or any of those issues, I don't really fit that criteria either. And so I've kind of just put it off and been like, it must be hormonal, or I just need to learn how to not be so sensitive. I might make another video detailing my exact symptoms and how they show up in my life, but basically this diagnosis of ADHD and autism makes my entire life make sense, including my eating disorder and other random things like being hypersensitive to noise. It's weird though, because it's just specific noises, and I love loud noise, especially when it's just uniform music, that kind of stuff thumping in the background, and I can kind of zone out with the noise around me. When it's ununiform noise, like people chatting or doing things and I know they're there, that's really annoying for me. Anyway, so in short, I thought I had ADHD. I wanted the formal diagnosis from a doctor because I would very likely just say, whatever, I have this stuff, it doesn't really matter, move on. I'm really lucky I do have a curious mind, and I was also really interested in learning more about it if I do have it and seeing what a professional does recommend in terms of what I can do to manage things better and not lead to a point of burnout or my life just unraveling in the future. So I am really glad I went and got the formal diagnosis. And for me, it's actually been a very easy process, other than having to wait like a month at a time to get in to see my doctor. He is a specialist in mental health and ADHD in particular. The first time I saw him, I basically spoke to him for an hour. He asked all these really detailed questions about my entire life, and then he gave me this massive questionnaire to fill out. There was a few actually. One of them was for the autism stuff, which I didn't know about at the time, but he gave me this big questionnaire. I filled that out after my appointment with him. It took me like half an hour to fill it all out because I found it just so confusing, the questions. Even though they were very simple questions, I really had to think about it. And so I gave that back and then saw him again. And when I saw him again, he asked some more questions and he really wanted to get inside my head. And the cool thing is he has ADHD as well, so he really does understand what it is like to have it and have my brain. So yeah, it was the second appointment I had with him. He was like, I'm calling it, you have ADHD and you also have autism. That was a big surprise to me, even though when I look at the symptoms, again, it makes my entire life make sense. Something I have always struggled with is connections in my life, relationships, and feeling like I belong, I fit in. I have trouble making friends, I have trouble keeping friends. It's not because I'm a bad person or I'm mean or anything like that. I've never understood it. It's just because I think I am so misunderstood, and I obviously have some weird habits, I guess, that I don't know, people just don't understand me. I do have friends, really good friends, but I don't have a lot of them. And I really, really struggle in social situations. And even though I'm confident and I should be fine, I really, really, really struggle. So that's where we're at. I've got this diagnosis now, and I was like, are you sure? Do you want to ask some more questions, or, you know, have me fill out something else? And he's like, no, Jodie, you definitely have ADHD and autism. And so now I'm obsessed with learning more about it, and it's very interesting because having both is a whole different game altogether. Like, some of the symptoms overlap, a lot of the symptoms actually contradict each other, so they kind of then intersect and give you a different experience as what you would have if you just had ADHD or just had autism. I'm going back to see him in a month, and that is where we will discuss what the next steps are in terms of moving forward, how I can manage things, and I don't know what he's going to say. He did assure me that there are things I can do to help, and it doesn't necessarily require medication, because he knows I'm very kind of hesitant to do that. I have been open-minded about it, but I would prefer not to at the moment. Something I'm really happy I did from the start was to see a doctor that specializes in this. He's really, really expensive, and so when I rang up to book him in, I asked the girl, I was like, should I just see a regular GP and get a referral to a psychiatrist? And she's like, no, he's really good, like, see him. And I'm so glad I did, because the worst thing would have been to see a regular GP and they just dismiss my symptoms, because I already dismiss it myself. I don't need someone else doing that. And also, now knowing more about autism and ADHD, your brain is literally different. We have spent our entire lives learning how other brains work and how the rest of the world works, and trying to fit into that. Most neurotypical brains don't understand how we see the world and how we think. And so I think it is really important to find someone that has ADHD or autism to help, because it's just so nice talking to him and actually feeling understood for the first time in my life. Something else I really like about him is he has not been pressuring me to take medication, and he took my bloods last time I saw him as well, to just double check everything going on there, which, knowing what I know about health and the body, I think that's really important. Like, if you go to a doctor and you have some issue and they don't ask to see your blood work, if they don't ask what your stress levels are like, what your nutrition and exercise routine is like, then, as they say, you don't have a doctor, you have a drug dealer. Well, that's if they just prescribe you something. That is all for this video. Thank you for watching. If you liked it, please like it. If you'd like to see more, please subscribe. If you have any feedback at all, I'm not looking for advice, but feel free to leave a comment if you are experiencing your own journey with ADHD or autism. I do want to open up more conversation around it. Yeah, otherwise, I will see you in the next video.